Joe Zikas from YoChicago.com. I'm at a beautiful co-op on Lakeshore Drive this afternoon with legendary Jenny Ames from Coldwell Banker. Came by because I received word a little while ago that Jenny had passed the $100 million mark in sales for this year. That's virtually unheard of in Chicago and especially in this market. What is going on?
Well, I think it's a lot of things, Joe. And it has been a while. I remember years ago when we had a top agent in Chicago that hit about 150, and it was shocking, but that was in an entirely different market.
And that was with developments.
That was with a lot of developments, you're exactly right. And my business is not like that. It's really one deal at a time, one client at a time. I don't have any big buildings where I'm getting the credit for selling all the units in the building. So what's changed? I think a couple of things. Around the 1st of April this year, 2012, it did feel like the market started to turn. And when I say the market, I mean my market, which is primarily the north side, neighborhoods like Lincoln Park, Lakeview, and the Gold Coast. Chicago is a series of micro markets, and there are parts of the city that are still working their way through problem situations like foreclosures and short sales, but not so much in my area. There was a short time where interest rates popped up about 1/4 of a point, and I think that shook the buyer confidence that they were in the driver's seat. And that first week I had a series of multiple offers.
A little fear is always good to motivate buyers.
A little fear is good, and the first multiple offer, I thought we had made a mistake. We must have put it in the MLS at the wrong price, or done something wrong, that we found ourselves with more than one person vying for the same property. But by the end of that week, I had like 3 multiple bids, and I sort of pinched myself and said, is this real? And how long will it last? And we had a very vibrant spring. I think rates did go back down within about a week, but buyers really shifted their mindset, and so that helped. That's not the only reason we've had a great year, but that was certainly a catalyst to bringing more people in the market.
A lot of people have been talking about an inventory shortage and shortage of good available product. Are you seeing that?
We are absolutely seeing a shortage of inventory in some segments of the market. The single-family market is a great example, because when the market shut down in 2008, builders stopped doing spec construction. So we don't have a number of nice new single-family homes standing in attention waiting for buyers like we used to. And as a result, there's fewer options. And you add that to the fact that there were a lot of homeowners around 2008 and 2009 who chose to rent their home instead of sell it. And now that the market is starting to turn, they've taken it out of the rental inventory and put it back on the market for sale. And as those are getting gobbled up, again, there's fewer and fewer options available.
What else is in short supply?
Townhomes. In Lincoln Park, I was trying to price a townhome that I wanted to put on the market, and there were only closed sales. There were no active listings that I could compare in this section of Lincoln Park.
That's incredible. Lincoln Park is a huge townhome market.
Yes, and there was very, very little inventory, and most of my multiple offers this year were in the townhome sector. I think townhomes are an interesting part of the market because they are a step up from your first condo, but you don't have to have a big $1 million house to be in a townhouse. It's like a house shrunken down in size. You can start a family, you can have a couple of kids, you can have a playroom, so your toys aren't in the living room, you can have private outdoor space. It's a really convenient option for a young family, and that's what's driving the townhome market.
Is it a preferred choice, a Lincoln Park townhome versus a single family further out?
It's interesting what's happened in the city with neighborhoods. So when I first started selling real estate, people were very careful to pay attention to where their friends lived and try and live close to their friends. And now the city's exploded. People are living all over. And buyers, because of the internet, are introduced to a broader range of properties more than their agent might show them. So in my experience, they might look at a single family in Roscoe Village for $900,000, and they might look at a townhouse in Lincoln Park in Lincoln Elementary School District for $900,000. and weigh the value of being in a premier school district versus the value of having a bigger yard and a freestanding house.
It's about $60,000 a year if you have 2 kids, right?
Well, I've got kids in private school, so I can tell you it's pretty painful.
You have 3 children. How do you juggle fast-paced real estate business with the demands of family?
Juggling family and work is a pretty good challenge. I don't have time for much else. I do have 3 boys. 2 are in senior kindergarten, 1's in 1st grade, and I'm involved in their school as well. I think this year I started driving them to school every day and then going into the office, so I've created a new structure for myself, and you've got to be really organized to juggle it. We take family vacations when they're off of school, so we do get quality time, which hopefully makes up for the fact that I work so much during the regular week.
You don't get to your sales level without having a team. Tell me a little bit about who they are, what they do, how many there are.
I do have a team. I learned early in my career that it was better to leverage my time and not try and do everything myself. And so over time I've grown and expanded in different areas depending on what our needs are. This year, when the market started to turn, I found my team was too small, and I had to quickly find more people on the client care side. My contract manager was overwhelmed because we were so busy writing offers and trying to close sales that she couldn't sleep, and so we hired her an assistant. But I have somebody to do our scheduling, somebody to help me with listings, and I have somebody to help me with contracts. I also have an assistant who's helping me with email and my calendar and making sure I've got nanny coverage when I need it and all those kinds of things. I've also got a couple salespeople who are out doing showings and working with buyers and helping on the sales side.
Obviously, a lot of people are curious. There's a Jenny Ames edge. People have noticed on various websites that your marketing is different. You're investing money when you take a listing. Tell me why and talk to me about what you do.
I spend a lot of money on marketing. I think it's critical that when you make a commitment to a seller to list their home, that you put it out there in the absolute best possible light. And there's 2 sides to that equation. The first one is what they do, and I'm very demanding of my clients to do proactive staging, and the nature of the request varies from home to home, but I've had clients this year that have spent $10, $20, even $30,000 getting their home ready for sale, and in every case those are the homes that sold in multiple offers for a great price. So I think we're giving them good advice, but the first part of marketing is really starting with the product that we're marketing itself. On the
Does that mean you're selective about what you'll market? Because I know you've sold very low-priced listings also, in addition to the multi-million-dollar ones.
I've had a broad range, and our business is a relationship business. So when I have a great client who calls and says, my son just finished college and he needs his first apartment, of course we'll work with that buyer, or when they're moving on, we'll help sell their home as well. But even with those smaller listings, we do the same kind of marketing. We give them the same attention. There's no tiered structure in how we approach a property. But I'm surprised on the staging side how often I'll go into a home with a buyer and you open the closets and stuff's like falling out on you, and it's like, oh my God, I would never show a home in that kind of condition, because I'm not helping the seller to sell their house if I don't speak up loud and clear and say, time out, let's not list it until your home's ready to go. And I'm pretty assertive about that. So once we are ready to list, I think photography is critically important. I'm a little unique because I take my own pictures.
Really?
Yeah.
I have to tell you, I'm shocked.
I photograph all my listings.
I think everybody assumes you have a top-notch professional photographer.
I have a top-notch color corrector who goes in and helps me, but part of why I shoot myself is that I'm not just shooting, I'm staging as I go. So when I look through the lens and I'm like, ooh, that chair in the foreground is kind of a problem, I'll pull it out and oh, there's a Kleenex box on the nightstand, let's hide that. And, you know, I'm taking the time as I'm shooting my pictures to refine the presentation of the room.
I'm in awe, Jenny.
It takes a lot of time. And when I complain to my coach, I have a coach, about my schedule, and I say, gosh, you know, some days I can't do it all. You know, he says, why don't you delegate your photos? And it's like, that scares me, because that's part of what I think is my added value in the process.
Are you that hands-on on every aspect of your marketing?
Yes and no.
I mean, there's only so much time in a day.
There's only so much time. So I have a great team that does my marketing, and I meet with them every week, and we look at strategy. So I am hands-on and saying, you know, we're not getting a lot of calls on our vintage apartments, for example. Let's run a special Tribune ad highlighting and celebrating vintage architecture and featuring those. So we've done some fun things in the summer for the air show. We did an ad that said, if you lived here, you'd have front row seats to this weekend's air and water show, and we showcased each of our properties that had a great view. We did an ad right when the school year started that featured our properties in great public school districts. Of course, it was ironic because it ran the day that the strike started. Who would have thought? But so I'm involved in thinking about how to present each property, because we don't just put up 2 bedrooms, 2 baths, you know, 100 square feet. We tell stories. We talk about what makes a house unique, and we describe it through our marketing to the audience that we think is going to be attracted to that property.
And just by way of disclosure, my company has done some of your advertising, so we have firsthand familiarity with how
That's true.
with how meticulous you
Yeah,
are.
I probably make people a little crazy sometimes. Lots of edits, but you know, our clients are relying on us to do it well. And if you, of course, when you get the buyer in the door, how you show a home is important. But the emphasis on the marketing is to get them in the door. And I think we have, you know, when you compare to other people in our industry, I think we probably get a little bit more showing activity because of that. And then the handouts, the brochures that we create, hopefully help them to continue to think favorably about the home that we're selling when they leave, because there's a lot more information in there than you might see in another home.
If you could give a seller 3 questions they should ask when they're interviewing a real estate agent, what 3 questions would you ask? And I know I'm just catching you out of the blue on that.
On the spot, but I think that's a great question. I would ask about experience. I would ask, you know, what other properties have you sold in this area, in this price point? You know, tell me about that experience. I think that's really important. And I'm always surprised when you see an agent who's got, you know, for example, this is an easy one, comes from the suburbs and tries to sell a home in the city, and it's like, why would you do that? You know, they're not an expert in that area, and you want somebody that really knows. And when, you know, when I take a listing in a townhouse complex, I've usually sold other homes already in the complex, and I know the complex, and I know how it's different than the next door complex. And so you want to find somebody who's got that expertise. I think you also, you know, a lot of people struggle with the question, do I go with an agent that's an individual or do I go with a team? And sometimes people say, Jenny, you know, I don't know, you're going to hand me off to your assistants. And it's like, no, I've got this brilliant team of professionals, and together we're going to give you so much more attention than what an individual agent might be able to do. And I explain to them that we don't miss a showing, because I may have an appointment, but one of my team members is available, or, you know, I may be with an out-of-town buyer on the day of your closing, but my contract manager, you know, goes. She's better at it than I am at this point. So I think that would be a good question, is sort of, what do you do? Ask an agent, how do you handle your time? And if you get busy, you know, how am I going to be covered? And then the third one is absolutely marketing. And I think a lot of people, they don't, before they even interview an agent, they'll go online and look at their website and look at their pictures. And I'd like to hope that they have enough savvy to rule out the ones that don't have good quality marketing, but I see properties listed in the MLS where I'm wondering, what were they thinking? You know, they've taken their phone and taken pictures of, you know, the toilet, the bed, the whatever. Why would anybody want their home put out on the internet with such an unappealing presentation? And yet there are sellers who don't know how to ask and don't understand how important it is, because every buyer starts online. All my buyers, even though I know the buildings and I could tell them, you know, here's the 6 places we should see on Saturday, oftentimes they'll tell me, here's the 20 I think I like, and then I'll say, no, this one backs up to the train, that one's got a bar on the first floor. You know, I'll walk through and filter for them with my knowledge, but they're all looking online, and they have more time to look online for themselves than, you know, we might, because they're doing it every day, all the time, and coming to us with their wish list.
Jenny, thank you for breaking out the time for us today.
My pleasure.